Hello everyone, welcome back. So another couple of weeks are in the books and we've had a bit of an interesting journey over the last fortnight or so. We've been able to work through a spare parts haul and we found some stuff Dick Johnson related and also to do with BA1, the Super Cheap Auto Falcon and FTR3. So we've really ticked a lot of boxes and we've been able to find the balance of the parts we now need to return BA1 to the track. And there's been a little bit of a change of plan as to how that'll play out. Also a few other little bits and pieces. We've put up a little history wall instead of having all the old parts hidden away. We thought we'd throw them up there and I guess pay tribute to some of the history that these cars have created over the journey. And yeah, also just a bit of an update as to where everything else is at with the cars. So we'll bring you up to speed now. And this is the very latest out of the workshop. So it's been an exciting few weeks on BA1. Now, although I hadn't been able to do a lot physically in the workshop, I've spent a lot of time just chasing loose ends and trying to find the last of the missing parts from this car. So we've been able to get a Hollinger H-pattern gearbox for it, all the gearbox pumps, the input shafts, we've now got everything. We've also been able to get the cross member for the gearbox. So everything we need to put this car back together, we now have. Now, you'll see in the next segment of this video, there was a spare parts haul that we've been able to work through as well. And we're really lucky, but that has included fuel pumps and all sorts of stuff that we need to get this car going. So we're really excited. It's gone from, I guess, the thought process of tearing the car down, repairing the floor and starting again to let's repair the floor the best we can. If you've been following the earlier videos, the tail shaft broke and tried to go through the floor at some stage. We can repair that without tearing the car completely down and do it properly, and that'll enable us to preserve all the paint. There's also, which we discovered recently, if we go back a little bit and explain, in 2003 the window nets were installed into the door frames. Later on in life, the cars had to be modified, so if the door came off, there was still a window net. So this car, like many others, had this section added to it, which was a system that was welded onto the roll cage. So that goes up, hooks into there. Now that has broken away. You can see it's been repaired a few times. So we'll cut that away and get all that repaired as well. But a lot of these little jobs we can do without sacrificing all the paint inside the car and keep a lot of the originality, which is now the main priority as opposed to a full restoration. Now we are going to have to paint the car externally. The reason for that is we want to put the electric windows back in the car, get rid of the perspex with the Christmas tree clips. So, and the reason we need to replace the doors is all the inside of that door is cut out for weight. If we come over here to the little door rack, you can see here, this is the Super Cheap Auto door that came off the Ellery AU originally, and it had electric windows in it. And you can see they cut all the inside of the door out, but they leave where you bolt the regulator for the electric window. That stayed. Now on the Stone Brothers doors, that was all completely cut out because it had the perspex windows. So we do need to replace the doors. So by the time you do that on both sides, and we've got the sprung loaded doors on the passenger side, we'll end up having to repaint the car. Now, if you've been following the Facebook page throughout the week, you would have seen that I put up 5 liveries that this car ran. Now, it's been quite an interesting question because we were, I guess, debating amongst ourselves what was the best livery that this car ran, what should it be returned to. Now, there's actually a 6th. There was a Starlight Foundation livery it ran in New Zealand in 2004, which I forgot about. And really, if you look at the answers that everyone's been putting up, there's no real standout. Obviously 2003, the livery it's in now, is probably just leading, but the rest of them make a very good argument to be put on the car. Even the split Enduro from the 2003 Enduro season, a lot of people voted for that. But given the Skaife incident at Eastern Creek, you'd have to argue that one of the 2003 liveries, either early or late, would end up back on the car. Now, if you've been following the journey, you'll know we've been stockpiling parts over the last really 18 months. And a lot of it is just grabbing whatever you can get, because a lot of the parts are just getting really hard to find. And as we restore the cars, we like to try and use original stuff. So not a Chinese reproduction of a panel. We'll like to use the genuine Ford part, and if we've got to repair it, so be it. Now, what I've started to do is just put together some shelving and really trying to sort out what we've got. Now, as you can see here, there's just a bit of a mix match of stuff that's been boxed up, and I'm starting to work through it all. But some of it's really interesting when you look at the markings and the history of a lot of this stuff. Now, obviously, you know, we've got some spare brake ducts. There's all sorts of bits and pieces. This here is a inlet or a base of an airbox, and if you have a look on the back of that, it's marked, it looks to be DJR, so it'll be an early generation DJR airbox base. I'll sit that back up here. There's spares for the ProDrive airbox system, which was on FTR3 originally. We've picked up some the little carbon work for the brake ducts and the front hubs on the cars. Now, some of this stuff may not fit, but we're just documenting it all because if somebody does need it, it's all there. Found a heap of fuel filters. Now, you can see some of them are second-hand, original seating that's got on there, and then there's brand new ones from, if I can get the camera to focus, from 2005 that needs to be fitted up, but they're still in the original packaging, so they've never been fitted. But what's quite interesting is if you have a look here, and I'll try and do this one-handed, you open that up, and a lot of them new in 2003 in January, so stuff like that has never actually gone on the car. And yeah, they don't smell of fuel, and it's just really cool. So that's obviously, if it's January 2003, that has FTR3 or FTR4, so very well it may have been with the FTR Falcon originally. Now, if we scoot through here a little bit further, there's boxes of looks like a distributor parts, and if we pull that out of there, you can see the markings on that one is all DJR, so they obviously made that custom for their engines back in the day, which is really cool. Just lots of little things. You've got rear suspension parts, diff housing parts, there's door glass that's brand new, power steering racks, and the list goes on. Now, in all the goodies that we've received, there's some old fuel cells. Now, these are not going to be able to be used, they're out of date, but it just gives you a good idea of what we've got to take out of the Caltex car, because this will have something similar in it. So you can see here the date on it is not valid after June 2014, so it's pretty well cactus. But this is what we've got to take out of the Caltex car and replace all the pumps and bits and pieces. Now, what's really exciting is we have in all these bits and pieces a full set of fuel pumps, because they are seriously expensive. So to have that in our bits and pieces is really exciting. Obviously, the fuel cell we're in the process of sourcing, and once all that's done, hopefully we'll get the car to a position that we can try and run it with some fresh fuels and oils and try and understand exactly where we're at with it all. Now, another fuel cell is over here, but as you can see, it's far worse. Similar date code on it. Now, it has been listed as a spare, but if you have a look there, it's got an arrow pointing to the corner and NFG, so not very good. So it's had the gong, so it's pretty well just chuck it in the bin and forget about it. Wheels, we've got quite a few of those. Now, unfortunately, they're the wrong style. So you can see there, this style of, I believe they're an Oz racing rim. This style was more on the Stone Brothers BF era. HRT ran them as well, FPR ran them, a lot of teams ran them. No good for AU or early BA, unfortunately, but we did manage to score some 5-spoke rims, which there's a set of 4 there. Not too sure what condition they're in, but if they're serviceable, we'll paint them up and get them back in service again. You can see there that's marked as okay, but it could be an older marking, unfortunately. A lot of this stuff is date coded and it's all marked, but you know, when you're starting from scratch, we've got to try and work it out for ourselves. Sets of springs, little bits of carbon trim. These mounts here are for the pedal box, which is all adjustable. There's door latches, door handles, you name it, it's there. More springs. One thing, got an alternator as well, which will be handy. But don't believe the LRE car's charging, so that'll come in handy. And yeah, just a whole heap of other odds and ends. Now, one other thing I just wanted to quickly show you, there's also a box full of uprights. Now, some of these are damaged, some good, some bad. There's spindles, all sorts of stuff. But when you have a look at the amount of work that goes into producing these, it's phenomenal. So I'll put this down here to give you a look at it. But the fabrication that goes into these, now the current cars, a lot of these are all, machine done now, so they're all one-piece billet. But the amount of work and tigging and folding, you can understand why these uprights were worth so much money back in the day, and they still are. But it's really appreciate how skilled a lot of these tradesmen were, these engineers were, when they designed and put these cars together. So back down in the workshop now, and as you can see, we've got a ton of wheel nuts. So I'm just working through all these to work out what's serviceable and what's not. So you can see here, this wheel nut is perfectly fine. It's got all the tangs on it, and those tangs keep the nut captive in the wheel. So when you want to do a pit stop, it all stays in there as one unit. And then you've got your more conventional style of wheel nut, which is that there without the tangs. And that just comes on and off with the whole removes from the wheel. Now, there's wheel nuts like this one here where the tangs are broken. The nut itself is actually okay. All the locking fingers are still inside the wheel. So we'll just machine that away and use that, because these nuts are getting rarer as time goes on. One other thing that we're really excited to get is a set of these. So it's got left hand on it. So on the left hand side of the car, all the wheel nuts are left hand thread, and on the right hand side of the car, they're more your conventional right hand thread. So it just limits the possibility of the wheels coming loose during a race. So if you're putting the car, you finish with the car for the weekend and you're putting the wheel on the car, instead of putting a wheel nut on it, what you do is you put one of these on. So they're threaded the same as a wheel nut. And you do that up, you put a bar through it, do your wheel up, and that is your tie point to tie your car and your trailer or your transporter, and that way you're not having to run straps through your wheels, damage the paint and things like that. I've been trying to get hold of a set of these for a while, so I'm pretty excited to get these, which is really cool. Now, one other thing that we also got, which you may look at that's the center of a wheel, and it looks like scrap. Basically, it's been cut out from a damaged rim. This isn't how the level 1 teams do it by any means, but they will come in quite handy, and they've obviously been cut down for this purpose. On your rear disc, if you want to warm the car up and spin the diff over and the gearbox and build up oil pressure and temperature before the car goes out, you spin it over and you put your foot on the brake, and during the run-up procedure, you put a bit of load through the drive line. Now, without the wheel on the car, the only thing holding that disc in place are these drive pins, and you can shear them off quite easily or damage them. So ideally, you need a wheel on there. You do the wheel nut up and it sandwiches that whole system together. Now, you don't want to have a wheel on the car just in case your air jacks fail or something happens and the car drops on the ground. So what these are, or what they've obviously been used for, is you put them on like so. You would then put your standard wheel nut on, not this here, but you'll get the idea. You do that up really tight, and then that sandwiches that, your brake rotor or your brake hat sandwiches the whole thing up, and you can warm your car up normally, touch the brake pedal, create a bit of heat, and make sure everything's okay before the car hits the track. Now, one last little score that we found is this little piece. Now, it's pretty old, it's way outdated, but it's pretty cool, so we're going to try and restore it. What it is, it's a little fuel pump to fill up the cars. So you have your fuel drum, obviously, you have your fittings on that, and all this does is it's just got a little pump, and it pumps fuel out of the drums, and it's got a fitting in the car, and that basically fills it up. So whenever you've got I guess you're at a meeting and you're not using your dry brake system, which you'd normally do during a pit stop, in this instance, you've got your main filler points there. This is on BA1. There's also a filler point just there, which is currently not capped. And you can hook that pump up, pump fuel in through there. You can put a gauge on it to measure how much fuel goes in the car. And that's a lot cleaner and safer way of doing it. So we'll get a battery for that. We'll see if it fires up. And if it does, we'll restore it all, and it's something that'll be, you know, used on all three of the cars. So aside from that, we'll keep pushing on here. We'll keep the updates coming. I'm starting to do a little bit more week by week, which is really exciting. I've been chipping away at a video on the GT. I know a lot of you have been asking about that, so I've created a bit of content on that. I've just got to edit it all down when I get 5 minutes, and I'll share that with you as well, because that's obviously a pretty cool bit of Australian motoring history as well. So thanks again, everyone, for your support and well wishes, and I look forward to having more for you as soon as possible. Thanks again.